What's good, YouTube? This video is going to be about 7 ways to protect yourself from damaged men. A damaged man can be any man going through a lot of things or in crisis at the moment, or a man who's been hurt before or exhibiting behaviors that suggest he's been hurt before and has some emotional PTSD from previous relationships. I meet a lot of women who love dating damaged men. Many of them have what some would call broken bird syndrome. That means to basically gravitate toward people they have to mother, nurse, and nurture back into wholeness. This could be people who are in crisis and or people who are in need or guys they have to upgrade. Kind of like a guy who has a hero complex. People with broken bird syndrome tend to give a lot but not receive a lot in return because they don't require much. Over time, they ultimately usually grow a little bit resentful from all the not receiving they're doing, but they only have themselves to blame because they picked people who needed but couldn't give, or who weren't willing to give, and then they set up dynamics where giving to them wasn't a requirement or a prerequisite for the relationship. So ultimately they get upset, they get resentful at the constant disregard by their one-sided relationships. Now, if you have a big heart and you insist on dating damaged, unhealed men who are still in the process of growth, please observe these 7 rules to help you avoid creating a mother-son dynamic and or a superior-subordinate dynamic. If you don't observe these rules, you can set yourself up to fail and prevent him from growing beyond his baggage. My wife and I wrote each other multiple times a day for 3 weeks before we even had our first phone call. Paragraph by paragraph, book by book, we got more comfortable with one another. But most people don't put that type of effort into messages anymore. Hell, now you're lucky if you get a full word or a whole sentence back after a few DMs. These days, every dating site has the same issue. Low effort messages, fake profiles, catfishing, models, perverts, gauging attraction off of pictures alone, and hiding the best features behind paywalls. Most dating websites don't give us an opportunity to fully represent who we are or catch a virtual date whenever we feel up to it. In fact, most people never make it to a phone call, they never hear each other's voice or make it to a real date. It just dies in the DMs. But our app is different in that way. On our app, you can get right to the point of online dating, the dating. And right now, it's completely free. I met my soulmate on MySpace in 2008. You can meet your soulmate at the link below. Rule number 1, don't try to fix everything for him. Discomfort is the best teacher. It forces evolution and it causes growth. Tribulation builds strength and character, so don't stunt your new man's evolutionary growth by trying to do everything for him, or by trying to make all his issues your issues, especially in new relationships. Let him figure things out on his own. Otherwise, you'll be training him to depend on you instead of him supporting you like a man should. Your fantasy, remember, is of a strong man, not a dependent one, not a big grown-ass baby. And being a big grown-ass baby in time will cause him to resent you because he'll feel emasculated by the dynamic that requires you to make leadership decisions ultimately. With that said, rule number 2, don't try to be everything to him. Some women get sucked into being the man's sex toy, girlfriend, psychotherapist, mother, bank, teacher, guide, preacher, his mom, his accountant, his stylist, his manager. They do all this and then wonder why they feel alone or feel themselves to be unsupported by him. They wonder why he doesn't even think to come to their rescue because they're wearing so many hats. That becomes the dynamic of the relationship. Just like people often forget to check on their strong friends, it's just assumed that they're doing well. He'll start to assume you're okay. Make sure that he understands that he has a purpose and a responsibility in your life as well. That everything just can't be about his needs and you supporting him. He should be an asset to you in this relationship and not a liability. Rule number 3, observe his commitment to change and make sure it's there and intact and he's committed to it. Take some time to watch him before you just dive into being with him or fixing his issues. Some people are chronically unhappy and unlucky. The fault then is their own. Probably because they give a minimum effort to change their circumstances and no effort to change themselves. However, many have not neglected to draw upon the pity of others. That's because they're just full of sad songs and excuses. And in that case, you may realize that the main issue in his life is him, and it isn't going anywhere. If a man is truly committed to changing his circumstances, then you will also witness him being truly committed to changing himself. He'll be exhibiting new habits, patterns, and practices. He won't be looking for you or anyone else to save him. His pride in saving himself will be obvious. So with that said, if you see a man in crisis but he's focused on the solution, staying diligent in his work and committed to his self-improvement, committed to making sound decisions that lead to a measurable and quantifiable change in his situation, he may be a better emotional investment. The key is to take enough time to observe him being damaged and taking damage to get an accurate read on how he may handle his future. Don't be overzealous. Too many women decide that they like a man and jump right into solving all of his problems for him and trying to be his down-ass chick. They jump right into his mess to prove themselves worthy when they haven't even figured out if he is. So with that said, rule number 4 is if you're not his girlfriend, don't pretend to be. Stop trying to earn a title. Some of y'all be working yourself to death trying to get promoted. Y'all be doing all the girlfriend stuff y'all could possibly do, hoping that one day, maybe down the line, someday, possibly, he sees some new value in you and makes things official. Or at the very least, stop tapping other women, neither of which are likely to happen. Newsflash, ladies, if a guy's been banging you for over 2 or 3 months and he hasn't mentioned a relationship, he likely has no plans for you. Rule number 5, recognize the "I've been hurt before" bullshit. I wish women would just start telling these guys, boy, get your weak ass out of here. We've all been hurt before. But they don't. They just cross their fingers and give him some pussy. And yes, we've all been hurt before, but that doesn't give us a license to mislead people. Stop having sex with these guys who tell you all about their trust issues but are eager to come over late. They tell you they're not ready for a relationship or they can't give you 100%, but they don't have a problem at all asking to come over and dig into you. Excuse my French, but no matter how hurt this guy was or says he was, you ain't gonna heal him with no pussy. His issues are emotional, psychological, or character-based. You can't screw them out of him. The work is not yours, it's his to do. If you lay with enough damaged men, you will become as damaged as they are or pretend to be. If he says he can't commit because he's been hurt before, just move on. You're not going to convince him otherwise. You're not going to convince him with sex and favors, so tell him to call you when he knows that he wants a whole relationship. And if he never calls you, fine. He was never going to want a relationship. You didn't lose out. I can't give you my all because I've been hurt before, or every time I put a title on the situation, it gets all weird and messed up. I don't like titles. Why can't we just keep doing this? Sound familiar? Why can't we just keep having fun with each other? You know I got trust issues. All that shit just basically means, please let me keep hitting it until I get tired of you and you get tired of me, and then we move on. It's like using the entire free trial before canceling a service. Of course, people have been hurt before, but it should never be a ticket to bang you indefinitely or until they can trust love again. If he was that hurt to begin with, he has a healing journey to go on. He shouldn't be starting any relationships or situationships with people who are ready for love. In fact, his intention to lean on him being broken should tell you everything you need to know about his growth and development. A lot of y'all don't even require evidence of growth and development and evolution from the guys you're dating. That's because you want to be the one who causes it. Beyonce got y'all trying to upgrade every damn body. Too many of y'all are trying to love a man back into wholeness when he doesn't love himself, and he certainly doesn't love your ass. Please put these fragments of men down and go find a whole man with an intent to love himself first and also a woman. You can upgrade a man's style, his culture, or his way of life, but you can't upgrade a man's character or his intent. With that said, rule number 6, please stop settling for the friends with benefits thing as a consolation prize for a man being broken and not being ready for commitment. You realize the women who do this never get the commitment. Rarely have I met a woman, out of thousands of women, and I've coached over 4,500, probably closer to 5,000, I've not met more than 2 women who have been having a long-term situationship, fling, physical, friendship with benefits thing with a guy who actually ended up with the guy. Most of the time, they just fall apart. They separate like a couple. They break up, even though they were never in a committed relationship and he never put down the need and or the right to sleep with other women. You're just going to bang until they get bored or you get frustrated with the neglect. And then they'll use your attitude as an excuse to make their exit. They'll be like, oh no, we can't commit. We got work to do. We got stuff we got to sort out. You've been waiting for 2 years. You've had sex 3,000 times. All of a sudden, y'all got stuff to sort out when you ask about where you stand, if you're ever going to be ready for a relationship. They'll look you right in your face and be like, "You've been tripping lately. This ain't working out." And you ain't even in a relationship. This is just a ploy to score steady ass without responsibility. If you want a relationship, stop screwing men who aren't your man. With that said, rule number 7, avoid the scarcity mindset. The scarcity mindset is what holds a lot of people in really crummy relationships. They don't think there's anything out there better than what they have, or that nobody else is going to want them, or they're not going to be able to find something as good or as terrible, actually. They stay in toxic, abusive situations because they're afraid of the unknown and the perceived scarcity of opportunity. Now, I'm no mathematician. In fact, I might have gotten a C minus on my last probability and statistics exam. But even I know that the probability of there not being a great person out there for everyone when there are 8 billion people in this world is low. They might not be as tall as you like, or as rich as you like, or as handsome as you like, or any of the other things that you've put in front of actual love and the intent to love. But there's certainly a person better than a toxic, abusive partner. With people who are compatible or who at the very least would treat us well. There are just too many damn people in the world to only have one person that you're compatible with and have potential to go to distance with. Doesn't make any sense. With that said, the scarcity mindset has too many people taking shit they don't need from people who don't treat them well, who they aren't even soulmates with or compatible with. You might be slum mates, but you're not soulmates in a toxic relationship. If a man can't overcome being damaged, let him go be damaged with someone else. And let him go damage someone else in the process. Listen, good men do exist, and just because you don't like them or you haven't traditionally noticed them as much as you have the more popular types or the so-called high-value ones, doesn't mean they don't exist. If you want love, prioritize love and the intent to love from a man. A man's not good just because you want to screw him. He's good when he has the intent to love, a healthy mindset, and the integrity to carry out the responsibilities of a relationship and the family. That's how I feel we should define good men and good women. There are plenty of decent men out here, don't believe the lie, and they're not all repulsive either. Sometimes good men aren't as scarce as good judgment, and there are too many women out here not taking responsibility for the shitty choices they made to compete for men with other women who they knew didn't want relationships or love. I'll get with y'all later.